We're reacting to Getting Recognized Stories by Let Me Explain Studios. What is up, beautiful people of the internet? Let's get it.
Hello, my geeks and peeps, my explainers, and blah, blah, blah. Listen here. If you know that intro, chances are you know who I am. And if you don't,
do.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Thank you kindly for noticing I don't have a mouth. Jumped right out of the inkwell without it. Anyways, back to my original point. If you know me, there's a chance you may one day be gallivanting about in the world.
Yo, this blue person is kind of thick. Also, is she telepathic? How is she talking to us with no mouth? Is she just beaming it straight into our brain like Professor X?
Post-pandemic.
And happened to spy a wild Becca in her
Whoa.
natural habitat. And if that glorious day comes, I assure you, my little oodalollies, that it is quite okay to approach. I shall not maul you to death. Probably. Something that you'll hear a lot from Storytime animators is that they don't know why people get excited or overwhelmed meeting them. Oh, please don't cry. I'm just a weirdo who spends way too much time in front of a computer screen and doesn't shower nearly as much as I should. That's it. That's the reality of our situations. The day
Comments chat. How many of those guys did you recognize? How many of those animators did you recognize? Blue Man Group's wife? I recognized 3, I think.
What we do is not glamorous. Actually, strike that. I'll tell you the one time that this job does feel glamorous. Conventions.
Ooh.
Where sponsors give us a metric ton of free stuff, and when we step on a stage, everybody goes, bah! But even then, you're working really hard at these events. You're sweaty and exhausted and your feet hurt because you just had to wear the sparkly red high heels, didn't you, Dorothy? Put them together. Maybe you'll get some Dr. Scholl's, you fashionista wannabe. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right, meeting all of you. Sit down, I got funny stories.
Does it feel wrong to you guys to see animators not as their cartoon avatars? It feels so strange to me. It feels so weird to me. It's almost like I don't think of them as entirely the same person. As stupid as that is, especially when I see a bunch of them together, I'm like, no, you're not the odd ones out. The odd ones out is a white, very elaborate stick figure. Who are you? No.
3-ish years ago, I was at the grocery store.
You're 3D.
Nothing particularly important about this trip, I was just getting my things. I got in line for the checkout, and there was a high school kid and his mom in front of me. Big, tall, football player kind of guy. Now, when I'm at a convention, or on the rare occasion appearing on camera for a video, I tend to doll myself up a bit. But that day, I was in normal Becca mode. No makeup, my hair was all frizzy, I was wearing my glasses. Like that would help disguise me.
No one would suspect a thing if I wear my Clark Kent glasses.
But even still, sometimes people won't realize who I am because I'm not all pretty-fied. Case in point, while I was standing there in line, I noticed the high school guy started to stare at me for a long time. Wheels definitely turning in his head. He pulled out his phone, searched for something, and then began to look between me and his phone a few times. That's a fun feeling, knowing you're being stared at but not wanting to awkwardly return eye contact, so you do that quick glance thing over and over. The guy's mother finished paying and began wheeling her basket away, yelling at him to get the lead out.
That's
We're
so
going.
funny.
He looked back at me rather frantically and said, are you Rebecca Parham? Yes? Picture? Sure? Click! And he was out the door. The cashier girl looked at me and said, "What the hell was that about?" He recognized me from my YouTube channel. Whatever, nerd. Speaking of stores, a little girl...
That was harsh. Talk about a high and a low. High school football player was a king. High school player, football king, and trash cashier. Mean cashier. I don't like that cashier.
Once followed me around the pharmacy section of Target.
Oh, that's
Every time I
adorable.
stopped in an aisle and looked at something, she'd stand 6 feet from me and pretend she was looking at the shelves too.
Hey, she respects social distancing. She respected social
I
distancing.
know she was pretending because little girls are not usually that fascinated with Rogaine. She side-eye glanced at me a lot, but never did say anything to me.
That's
I wasn't wearing
adorable.
makeup that day either and was probably very sleep-deprived, so I must have looked rather terrifying. Resting witch face and all.
Yes, come closer, little girl. Would you like a selfie? I promise it won't steal your soul.
I very often get surprised by the types of people who know who I am. They pop up in every situation too. See, I am more often than not approached by young people. Kids, teens, early college, you get it.
Yeah.
So when my mom and I were in the airport and we walked up to our gate, I was rather surprised when a man traveling alone in his 40s came up to me and said, "Excuse me, but are you Rebecca Parham?" not ready for that. My brain fully expected this man to say, "Excuse me, is this the flight to London?" or some other old person thing like, "Do you remember that show Thundercats?" He was a nice guy and told me that he watched my videos with his daughter.
Aww.
Ah, your child forces you to watch me. Now that makes sense. Well, fair play to you, dedicated parental unit.
That's adorable, isn't it? That's adorable, dude. Also, let me soapbox here, guys. I feel like people think YouTube is way more for kids because a lot of kids like post about it and talk about it a lot. I think there's a lot of people who like Stephanie's dad watches tons of YouTube. Like, I think older people watch a lot more YouTube than anybody expects or anybody sick. Lovely dad. West Take Training. I need to listen. I'll just be prepared to watch all kinds of YouTube with my daughter. I'm gonna Coco Melon. I'm just gonna stand Coco Melon for the sake of my child.
The place I was blindsided was when I went looking for rent houses in LA last year. I didn't actually move there, by the way. Fun fact, LA housing contracts are signed in blood.
Smart.
Catch my drift.
Smart.
But I digress. I went out to look at a rent house one day, and when I got there, I was greeted by the real estate agent, a woman who looked to be about in her late 40s. She walked me around, told me about the place, basically just did her job. But as I was leaving, just as I was about to cross the threshold of the house... Oh, and by the way, I love your videos!
Oh, that's sweet.
Thank you. If I may ask, do you have any children? Teenagers? Maybe a kid in college?
No.
Ah.
See, that's cool. I swear,
There was this
I
one...
don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm running a reaction channel where we react to YouTube as a full-grown adult. So obviously, I'm not gonna think it's weird. Yeah, Miriam, your mom watches all the time. Everyone watches YouTube because there's so much different content. Maybe make your baby a PewDiePie's fan. We need an agent on the inside. That's hilarious. I feel like that's cool. I just think kids are the most likely to be the most active on social media about a YouTuber. You know what I mean? I don't think it's weird. I think if anything, it's kind of cool.
Time back in 2019.
I don't know. I just think it's cool that there's different age groups can appreciate the same thing, and it's kind of a way that different generations can have something to relate on and enjoy together. Because there's not often things that do that, so it's cool when it happens.
I was in downtown San Antonio for San Japan, a big old weeb fest anime convention. I was there to sing at a concert with fellow YouTubers Caleb Hiles, Anna Pantsu, and CG5. The night before the convention started, we all went to dinner, and when we were done, we called an Uber to get back to the hotel. I was in the front seat and Caleb was in the back seat directly behind me. We must have been talking about something very interesting because I had turned towards my window to better speak to him over my shoulder. The car stopped at a red light, and while we were sitting there, some movement outside of my window caught my eye. I looked up, and this is what I saw in the Suburban next to me.
Imagine this person was actually like trying to get her attention because they were being kidnapped, but she just so happened to be famous. She just happened to be famous, and so she thought that they were like waving because they recognized her, and they're actually like, "For the love of God, call the police! I'm being kidnapped!" Hey Jade, it was great seeing you. Take care.
Funny enough, there was one time my face wasn't even the thing getting recognized. About 3 years ago, I was at Disney World with my family, and on this particular day, we were at Epcot.
Hey, what's
David
up,
and I were
Allah?
waiting outside the bathrooms for Mom and Rachel when a girl walked by and noticed that David was wearing an Aperture Laboratories t-shirt. The nerd. She stopped and said,
Hey, I really like your t-shirt.
I couldn't help but notice that the girl was wearing a Spirited Away shirt, so I said, Oh, and look, you're wearing Hayao Miyazaki. You really ought to go over to the Japan Pavilion here. They have all sorts of fun anime and manga stuff. I was rather satisfied with my perfectly executed social interaction there. Ha, my fellow geeks are so easy to talk to. But then I noticed how she was looking at me. She was staring very intently and squinting her eyes in suspicion. Immediately,
To be fair, Spirited Away is beautiful. Spirited Away, like if somebody doesn't think they like animated movies, I feel like you should just show them Spirited Away. I don't know how you watch that and you don't just love it.
I thought I had said something
It's
stupid.
so good.
Oh God, I insulted her. I assumed she liked anime. I mispronounced Hayao Miyazaki. I did something. I must have. She just kept staring at me.
It really is.
But
It's
then
so
said,
good.
You sound familiar.
I was
Hello,
wondering
my geeks
this.
and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodle-ollies, Rebecca Pound here.
That was all she needed to hear. Who needs to stand in line to take a picture with a princess? You got a moderately popular YouTuber over here. But I'll never forget the only reason I got recognized that day was because of David's nerdy shirt. You win this one, brother. And speaking of nerdy shirts, we have one of those sweet new Witch of the Wood shirts in the shop for ya. We call this one the Garden Witch shirt. Good for ladies, gents, and all other corporeal beings.
Look at that well-executed plug. Thematically appropriate. Let's go. Let's go. The next Weston Steph fit is a
Get 'em
Simon
while they're
vid.
hot, baby cakes. Link in the description below.
Hey.
Alright, I think I'm just about out of time for this video. Now, don't forget, explainers and entertainers, if you see this face poking about in the post-pandemic outside world, you shan't be afraid to introduce yourselves. It warms my heart to see your blessed little
That's so
faces and
sweet.
subsequently squeeze them. Have a good day, my little oodle-ollies. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now I gotta tune out. Bye!
I think she's so funny. I was really curious. I'm surprised that she gets recognized as often as she does from her face. I thought that she would get recognized from her voice way more in these stories. So that was really cool. I don't know. It was just surprising to me. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more reactions. And let me know in the comments what other videos y'all want to see me do reactions to. Whether they're from Let Me Explain Studios, the Glorious Funny creator, or anybody else on the animation side of YouTube or anywhere. Take care of yourself, guys. I'm Wesley, and I'm